Donald wept through the proceedings, his tears soaked through the canvas that cloaked his twisted face and stain. His orange jumpsuit wear with such rare distinction he once displayed the evidence of his outstanding contributions to the maintenance of a kingdom come. But those days are gone, nothing more than a number on docket thick with shareholders and engineers, PR firms, politicians, war profiteers. How the fuck did I end up here? It just isn't fair. Ain't no place for a millionaire. He searches for the words to stop this table in mid-turn, like we are but old men. We only did what we were told, but laughter from the gallery drowns out these vestiges of a profession's old as defense. The court will direct the record to reflect compliments from the bench, central casting's crowning achievement. Outstanding performance in a comedic role. We'd like to dedicate the findings of the jury to the dead. How can one man ever repay a debt so appalling? You can't gouge 10,000 eyes from a single head so white. I think we should observe a sentence that will serve to satisfy both a sense of function and poetry. So you'll spend the rest of your days drenched in sweat, face drawn in a rictus of terror as you remove another buried landmine fuse. Meanwhile, 100 yards back, behind the sandbags, a legless foreman pulls the trigger on a red megaphone, squelching feedback and drunken laughter, broken English, dead daughter's picture, time and tide no one can anticipate. Inevitable waves of...
Matt, welcome back to Unscripted Moments, a podcast about Propagandhi.
Hey, Greg. How's it going?
It's going great. Thank you very much, Matt. We are here to welcome you back to the podcast. Last time you were here fairly recently was with a friend of the podcast, Paul Hodgert, who was very gracious in kind of guest hosting a little bit of things for me while I've just been, kind of doing some other stuff. But you guys made an episode on your acoustic cover of Adventures in Zoocosis, which you sung in French. And I just wanted to publicly thank you for that fabulous cover and for going on the podcast without me. It meant a lot to to take in my own podcast as a listener. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Paul was great. He was a gracious host. Is that what you said? I'm just repeating what you're saying. Yeah, that was fun. The song was fun.
You did another cover, and I've been hassling you in our Discord chats for a couple of months now because the first time I heard your Zukosis cover, I was really blown away. And then you informed me that you had also done other covers that you had shown me in the past that I had completely forgotten about. Um, I get very overwhelmed with the amount of things that I've tried to keep straight in my brain with regards to this podcast. What other songs have you covered by Propagandhi that you have, dabbled with over the years?
So I've been working recently, most recently, I've been working on lower order quite a bit. I'm not done with it because there's some parts I just can't figure out. Iteration, which we're about to talk about. That one was about a year ago, I want to say. And then, I've got so many of the old ones like Anti-Manifesto and Homophobes, which were like the two first songs of theirs I've ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I play other ones. I was trying to learn Cointel Pro, but that I just can't power chord that fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure I have a couple others. I just they're not all recorded. Anti-Manifesto also has a French version, but
Mm.
I don't think anyone's ever gonna hear that one. So
Well, I will harass you for the next several years until we're able to bring the French anti-manifesto into the greater public listening sphere. So just expect that my relentless annoyance
we'll see.
coming soon to your life. Okay, so Matt,
Yeah.
you did iteration from Potemkin City Limits, and listeners heard that at the very beginning of this episode because it opens the episode. Tell me what you most remember about the recording process for, your iteration cover, learning it, etc. What do you remember about the process?
So that it actually started on your Discord server. I was like, hey, what song do you guys want to hear me butcher? And
Mm,
somebody was like, iteration. I'm like, all right, I can do that. So that I tried to learn it, immediately realized probably not going to happen the way that Propagandhi plays it. And at the time I was getting into classical guitar, or I thought I was. And I was like, okay, well, I better, learn the basics, like start using like your strumming hand is all like you got to use four fingers to play classical.
mm,
So I was like, I need to figure out some kind of exercises. And so the exercises I figured out I wanted to practice ended up being how I recorded the whole song. It's just the chord progression that I ended up using isn't exactly what they do in the song, obviously, but
hmm.
it's like a really simplified version. And then I instead of playing the chords and strumming, which I could have done like campfire style,
Yeah.
which is probably how I practiced it, honestly. And then I wound up yeah, just arpeggiating. So it's just like super, super simple. Same, like I keep one tempo the whole time. I just arpeggiate almost every single chord. There's like some nuances on the chorus, if you can call it that, but yeah. And then I just tossed that into like Reaper, which is the my DAW of choice because it's free.
Hmm.
I think that's it. I think I just like stood with my guitar in front of a mic kind of thing and used the same mic for the vocals. And I think I wound up just doing like take after take until I could just do both in one take kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
Musician question.
Mhm.
There are terms in music that get bandied around, just as like everybody assumes they know what those terms mean. You just said the term arpeggiate.
Oh
And I'm
yeah, yeah,
wondering
yeah.
if you can tell listeners who might not even know what that word means, what it means. Arpeggiate. What is that?
A basic chord is like three tones, and arpeggiating is playing those tones one at a time or like one string at a time. Usually people who are good at arpeggios will do it stylishly, like with it'll add, some kind of beat or something to their it's just a new way to rediscover your chords, really, to
Mm-hmm.
play them one string at a time. And yeah.
Nice. Yeah, because I didn't want to assume that listeners out there understood what you meant whenever you said
No,
that. I
no,
know
no.
that
Yeah.
most will for sure, but like I'm imagine that half the people listening be like, well, I don't actually know what an arpeggio is. And I've been hearing people say
I've
that
been
word
there.
for decades, and I've never actually looked it up for myself. So thank you for
Yeah.
explaining it. There's no dumb question on this podcast. Okay, so um how many guitar tracks do you hear or do listeners hear? Like, did you overdub the vocals? Did you do multiple guitar tracks? Is this one guitar, one voice? What are we hearing?
One guitar, one voice.
Awesome.
I think maybe I'll have to double check, but I'm fairly certain I kept it that simple on purpose. And I
Hmm.
thought next track, which wound up being officially Zucosis, I was like two guitars, one voice, and then next time I'll be like I don't know, three guitars, one bass. I don't know.
Cool. Did you record it all on that microphone that you're talking to me on? You got a nice little Shure set up there in your room there.
Uh, no, I have a condenser mic somewhere. I'm not sure
Okay,
where it
cool.
is, but yeah, yeah, yeah.
Very good. What was hard, easy, interesting about making this cover? Tell me what challenged you or brought you joy or something like that.
Classical guitar technique. I was trying to like learning to play with my fingers that way because I've been finger picking for 10 years, but never used my ring finger. Finding a song that I cared enough about to power through was
Mm,
really rewarding. I was finally like seeing results and enjoying that. Probably the biggest challenge was figuring out which chords will work.
hmm.
Because I'm not very knowledgeable about that stuff. So I was like looking at the sheet happens and I'm like, okay, they play an E minor here, I think. So I'll play an E minor, and then I'm like, and then because they sing in such a Chris sings it so high pitched. I cheated a little bit. I put a capo on like fret two, I think. I forget. Um, and which like let me actually sing it lower, like
Mm,
still kind of high, but like lower than he does it. I'm just in a different key the whole time, basically.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, yeah, and just like I don't really record myself that often, so hearing back like in some parts I like want to say I kind of shine, and I was like, oh
Mm.
shit, like that's not bad, that's not bad.
Sweet.
Uh,
That's got to be a good feeling. Well, and the band, I mean, if you go watch, like, I think the last video I've seen of Iteration perform live, I think there was a 2014 performance that I found. I think when they were probably on that War on Women tour in like 2014, but I saw them play a video of this live. Chris is playing a black Les Paul, or a black, what was he playing? I think it was a black Les Paul. You can noticeably tell they are tuned way down so that Chris can
oh yeah,
actually perform it live. Like if you put that version against the one on the record, it's like way lower. So they've made tons of moderation to this song themselves just to be able to play it live on the very,
yeah,
very rare occasion that it appears, which is a crime against music because it should be played first every single night in every show they ever play. But well, we'll see. We've seen how that goes.
yeah. Another thing that's weird though is he says he in his podcast mentioned that they recorded it in drop D or something. And I'm
Mm.
like, that's not how it is in the sheet happens. That's not. So I didn't do it that way. I didn't couldn't have figured it out in drop tuning. Oh, hey cat.
So this is Chris. This is my cat named
Oh, hey
Chris,
Chris.
and he's a little tiger man. Yes, he is. He's got a big fuzzy belly. Look at that big belly. He's a big cutie.
A lot shorter in person.
A lot shorter, yeah. Do you have any particular feelings about Potemkin City Limits as a whole when ranking it against the Propagandhi discography?
So okay, I know for you, it doesn't get better than supporting cast.
Hmm.
But this for me, this is what when I came back to Propagandhi, this is the album that hooked me. Like the person that I was like somebody was like hey you're Canadian, do you like Propagandhi? And I'm like
Yeah.
yeah. And when I was like ready to get back into it, he recommended Failed States, but when I got to Potemkin City Limits, I was just like what is this? Like I didn't even recognize Chris's voice. I was like, who is this guy? Like that's not the
Yeah.
guy that's saying River Heights. Like it's like who is like have there been roster changes? Yeah, and it just that's my favorite. Like I probably if I have time, I'll listen to it every day. Like it's
Mm.
just yeah.
Well, I mean, I've said this elsewhere, but I think that Cut into the Earth from Potemkin City Limits is
Mm,
arguably the most impressively performed and recorded Propagandhi song that exists. If you just listen to the sheer variety of styles that
mm,
song cycles through, and the fact that it's on the same record as like Super Bowl Patriot 36, um, it's just kind of a mind-blowing experience to think about this record, and that it was the last record they made as a trio, and it's just a super special one that I feel like people finally have realized is so profoundly special. So I have no retort to this being the one for you at all whatsoever. Okay, so let's talk about the closer.
Mm.
Iteration. What does this song make you think about and feel about the world?
Coming into this, I was like, I need to check out the lyrics again, and because like obviously like the first time I heard it, and I heard the George W. Bush intro with the laugh track and all that, I was like, oh shit. But then now like I'm hyper focused on the part where he circles back to that in the song. It's just like making me deep dive. Like yesterday, I was reading about the like the well, and this will sound like I'm talking about maybe a coach's corner, but he like Chris refers to things multiple times over albums, and so this song had me reading about the Nuremberg defense, where it's just like all the Nazis going like, no, we don't hate anybody, we just following orders and all that. And so when Donald Rumsfeld is like, no, we're just old people, we're just doing what the government wants us to do, and like, yeah, I've been obsessing with that, and just kind of like, uh, looking at history and war, and like why do North American war criminals get away with shit, which like just makes me laugh again at the intro where the war criminal is saying war criminals will be punished, like
Yeah.
I don't know, right now that's what I'm going through, like I'm just catching up, like, and just fucking can't believe what I'm reading.
Yeah. Do you have any favorite specific lyrics in the song or like lines that are like, that's the line?
I mean, the end, like the very end, when they're playing that riff, they're playing us out with that riff, and Chris is just yelling inevitable waves.
Yeah.
Just every time I just get chills. um but yeah, but like I said, right now I'm like obsessed with the defense, like the old people just following orders, and that like that part always, like, I'm always, I don't know, it just makes me so angry, and I'm like, why does that still work today?
Yeah. I mean, if you'll allow me, I'll share mine. My favorite
Oh
lyric
yeah,
in
yeah.
this entire song is his dead daughter's picture. Just that
Mm,
line, that one line. Because especially when you consider the fact that we're 11 and a half months into a war
yeah.
in Gaza, where every single day you can go to the front page of like, Apple News or whatever, and
Hmm.
it's
Yeah.
his dead daughter's picture. It's every single day right now. That lyric is the reality that I see 7 days a week whenever I am unfortunate enough to choose to open my news app. You know what I mean? And that
Yeah.
one line, man, that thing just like knocks me out every single time.
Yeah.
Ugh. So anyway,
Yeah, that no, that's I love that, because well, I love that. I mean, you know what I mean. Uh he Chris paints a picture, and it's, yeah, it like I'm drawing from World War II right now, but you're drawing from current events, and yeah, it's just, this guy has a way with his songs to just fucking nail it, and now it'll be, now you just made me curious, what are we going to witness, what's going to happen to the war criminals after this one? Yeah,
very little,
it's just, yeah, probably
very,
very
very
little.
little.
Yeah.
Matt, do any other things resonate with you about this particular song that I haven't asked you about yet, or anything about the recording process or the song itself? Like, just any closing thoughts that you may have?
um I can't think of anything. I'm sure I'll think of a million things when we're done talking, but right now, no, I'm drawing a blank.
Awesome. Well, Matt, if you do think of it, bank it, because I'm going to have you back on to talk about more covers in the future. So you will have a third chance to share any things that you may not have remembered. But Matt, it's been a pleasure having you back on the podcast. Thank you for joining me again this time. And thank you once again, like I said, to Paul Hodgert for hosting your Adventures in Zucosis French episode, which was such a pleasure to listen to, like I said earlier. So, Matt, thank you so much for joining me, and see you next time.
Thank you, Greg.